Garden, a living museum of plants from all around the world. I'm Ifechukwu Okeke, and today we're going to be taking an adventure together to look at the amazing diversity of plants that exist here in our garden and all around the globe. We're going to travel from South America to Southern Africa to Asia to see a variety of environments and take a look at how different plant parts have adjusted to these environments in order to help the plants survive all around the world. So what are the 6 basic parts of a plant? There are the roots, which anchor the plant into the ground and absorb water and nutrients. There's the stem, which transport this water and nutrients up the plant to allow the plant to grow. And then we have leaves, which absorb sunlight and make food for the plant. When the plant is ready to make babies, it grows flowers, which when pollinated mature into fruit, and this fruit holds seeds, which are baby plants. The seeds get scattered all around to make new plants. Around me, you can already start to see some of these plant parts and how different they look. Let's get started on our journey around the world. So here we are in our Asian collection. What do you notice? You may notice that there are different kinds of plants. There are trees, there are shrubs, and there are other low-growing plants that are closer to the ground. You may also be able to hear and see the creek behind me. What does a plant need to survive? Plants need sunlight, they need air, they need water, and they need nutrients from the soil. You may notice that there's a part of the plant going into the ground. What part of the plant do you think that is? These are roots of a type of redwood tree called the Dawn redwood. Redwoods have existed for hundreds of millions of years, since back in the time of dinosaurs. What do roots do for a plant? Roots anchor the plant into the ground and help to absorb water and nutrients, which travel up the stem of the plant, or here, in this case, the trunk of this tree. These water and nutrients are transported by the trunk of the tree, and they travel all the way to the top of the tree. You may notice that this tree does not have that many leaves. Why do you think that is? That's because this is a type of tree called a deciduous tree, meaning that it loses its leaves in the winter, and then now that it's spring, you may start to see that some of those leaves are starting to emerge. I want you to look around me and notice that leaves come in different shapes, sizes, and textures. What other things have you noticed about leaves? Now I'm standing in our Deserts of the America collection. What do you notice about this environment I'm standing in? There are no trees, no shade, and the soil is very dry and very rocky. The deserts are an environment that get very extreme and intense sunlight and very little rain. It may rain one time a year for a short period of time. So these plants that exist within the desert have very special parts that allow them to survive in an area with not very much water. One special kind of leaf these plants have is called a succulent. What that means is that they have a special tissue that allows them to store water within the plant. You may also notice that it has these sharp toothed edges on the sides of the leaf that prevent animals from being able to bite into the leaf to get at that moisture. The leaf also has a tough, thick, waxy surface that prevents water from being lost through the surface of the leaf itself. Now, comparing this succulent leaf to a leaf from our Asian collection, you can notice the difference in thickness, where this special tissue makes it so that this leaf is much thicker than this leaf from our Asian collection, which is much thinner because it doesn't need to have that special ability to store water, and so it doesn't have that tissue. So notice the difference in thickness between these two leaves and the special tissue that stores water and the fact that it makes this leaf much thicker than this one. Now, how about these cacti? What do the leaves on these plants look like? There are actually no leaves. Instead of leaves, we have spines and hairs that serve as protection to the plant from the sun, but also protect the plant from animals that may want to get inside that juiciness that they're holding and that moisture that they're storing and eat them. Another shape a cactus might have is what we call a columnar shape. An extreme example of this is this beautiful Echinopsis cactus behind me. Now, this is the stem of this cactus, and that is filled with water. Can you imagine how heavy that might be? So how is it that this cactus doesn't fall over from all of that weight? Well, that is because it has a structure inside of it that holds it up that looks something like this, where you have these air holes that allow the water to flow through, but also you have this lightweight, very sturdy structure that keeps the cactus standing up. And this is what allows this plant to stay sturdy and straight and not fall over. Here we are in a South American collection. This area has seasonal dryness in the summer and winter rainfall and is located in the southern hemisphere. This plant here is called the Gunnera tinctoria, sometimes called the Gunnera, from Chile. And it grows in areas that are really swampy with lots of water at the base of the roots. What might look like a stalk here is actually a part of one giant leaf of this plant. This is perhaps one of the biggest leaves we have here in the garden. If you could feel this leaf, you would notice that it feels very rough and has a very spiny stalk. So what do leaves do for a plant? They capture sunlight energy and use that to make food for the plant. How do they do that? Underneath the leaves, we have pores that capture carbon dioxide. Now remember, the roots and the stems have captured nutrients and water from underneath the ground. What the leaves do is they take the sunlight energy and use that to split those molecules and make food for the plant. That is the miracle of plants, is that they can make their own food using air, water, and sunlight. And this is what we call photosynthesis. I also want to call your attention to this red cone-shaped structure at the base of the plant. That is called an inflorescence. And an inflorescence is a collection of flowers that are growing together on the stalk of a plant like this one. Here we are in a Southern African collection. Plants grown here are from a region of Africa with a mild climate. It's springtime, and what do you see behind me? There are lots of colorful flowers. We have these blue and purple babianas, we have this orange flowering aloe, and we have other flowers that are white, purple, yellow, orange. Why do plants make such colorful parts? What is it they're trying to attract? And what have you seen visiting a flower? You may have seen a butterfly or a bee. What these plants are trying to attract are animals we call pollinators. These animals are seeking pollen or nectar to eat and store. As they visit the flower, they get pollen on their bodies and transfer the pollen to the next flower they visit. The flower shape, smell, color, and patterns all help guide the pollinator to the flower. For example, a sweet-smelling flower may attract a bee, while a fly may be more attracted to a stinky one. A butterfly needs a flat landing pad, while a hummingbird is able to drink from a tube-shaped flower while it's still flying. So what are the parts of a flower? Let's take a closer look at flowers in this bottlebrush plant from South Africa. Here are some unopened flower buds, and you can see the red petals starting to emerge. Here is a cluster of fully opened flowers. If you take a look inside, what can you see? You can see lots of sweet, glistening nectar, which the pollinators come to drink. Next, we're going to take apart the flower so we can see all of the parts. First, let's take off all these colorful petals. Wow, look at all that nectar. Now notice this crown of tall stamen. They have white powder at the top. What do you think that is? It's pollen. This pollen is going to rub off on the body of the pollinator, which it then takes to a new flower. Now imagine this is the new flower. Let's take off the stamen and look at what is in the center. This is the pistil. It has a sticky stigma at the top that the pollen gets stuck to. It grows a tube down to the ovaries where the eggs are fertilized. What happens next? Here you can see the pollinated flower has lost its petals and the flower ovary has begun to swell. It is becoming the fruit with seeds inside. We're here in our special greenhouse where we keep our tropical plants. Plants from the tropics are from regions of the world around the equator where they get lots of sun and lots of heat. These environments include tropical rainforests where it rains almost all year round. So we house these plants in a greenhouse because here in the Bay Area, we don't get as much sun or as much rainfall as some of the plants may need. Here to my left, I have a tree that is a favorite of many people around the world, the cacao or chocolate tree. Flowers develop right on the stem, and after they are pollinated by little flies, they form large fruit seed pods that are about the size of a football. As the seed pods start to ripen, the pulp inside turns really sweet and fleshy, and the skin outside turns a really bright color. Certain rainforest animals recognize this fruit and take them to a safe spot to feed on the inside fleshy part. What animal do you think does this? Monkeys. Now, after the monkey has eaten this sweet fleshy part inside, what do you think is left? Here, I have a dried fruit seed pod. What do you think is inside? Here we have an opened one, and as you can see, there are seeds inside. The seeds are very bitter, so the monkey spits them out. In this way, the chocolate seeds are scattered around the rainforest where they can become new cacao trees. An edible fruit is one way that a plant might disperse its seeds. Different plants make different kinds of fruit. Not all of them are edible. Some plants make fruits that are wing-shaped so that they can be carried on the wind. Other plants make fruits that have hooks so they can be carried on animal fur. And some plants actually make fruit that can float and be carried on the ocean. Here, I have a coconut palm fruit. Look at how big it is. If I peel this husk back, it will reveal a coconut palm seed. Now we're going to see if this coconut palm seed can float. It does float. And because it does float, this seed gets carried on the ocean and it finds a new spot on an island. And what do you think happens? Well, inside every seed is a baby plant. And as you can see here, the baby plant eventually grows into a mature adult coconut palm tree. We are ending the tour here in a special part of our California collection, the Coast Redwood Grove. Redwoods don't have showy flowers or fruits. Instead, they have cones. If I tap the cone in my palm, what do you think will fall out? This is a tiny redwood seed that can grow to be the tallest living thing on the planet. Coast redwoods can grow to be as tall as 300 feet and can live for over 2,000 years. What else might you find in a redwood forest? Many animals call a forest home. Deer, foxes, birds, banana slugs, butterflies. Animals depend on plants for food, shelter, and protection. Forests are particularly important habitats for cleaning the air and maintaining our planet's climate. Think about the ways we depend on plants too. Welcome to the California Collection. Our state is known as a biodiversity hotspot, meaning we have an incredible diversity of plants that exist nowhere else. This is in part due to the wide variety of habitats that exist within our state, from forests to deserts, wetlands to grasslands. Now that we've learned about all 6 parts of a plant, let's put them all together using this beautiful orange-petaled flower some of you may recognize. This is our California state flower, the poppy. Here we've pulled a poppy from the ground so we can look at all the parts. This is the root of the plant, which draws up water and nutrients. The stem is actually a really small disc between the roots and the leaves. And here are the poppy leaves. They are feathery and waxy. This pointy part is actually an unopened flower bud. And here you can see an open flower with its pistil and pollen-covered stamen. Here, a flower has been pollinated and is now developing into a seed pod. And here is the final mature seed pod with seeds inside. When the seed pod is fully dried and ready, it will cast its seed out by popping open. Thank you for coming with me on this tour of the UC Botanical Garden, and I hope you continue to learn more about plants and that you can visit the garden and see these plants for yourself.